Orlando Pirates Football Club, Kaizer Chiefs Football Club, as well as the Department of Health and the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture. As of last week, Thursday, we heard from President Cyril Ramaphosa just announcing an extension to the lockdown. Now, this will see an intensified public health response in order to ensure that we continue to curb the spread of the coronavirus. To contribute to these efforts, the MultiChoice Group, Orlando Pirates and Kaizer Chiefs football clubs have teamed up to announce their contribution to this fight. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce our panelists and our speakers. Today we'll be hearing from the MultiChoice Group Chairman, Mr. Imtiaz Patel, who will tell us why we're all here today and welcome our guests. We also have the Chairman of Orlando Pirates Football Club, Dr. Irvin Khoza, who will give us an overview of the partnership between his football club, Orlando Pirates, with Kaizer Chiefs, the MultiChoice Group, and the Department of Health. The Chairman of Kaizer Chiefs Football Club, Mr. Kaizer Motaung, will give us more details about a campaign that is centered around the players from both the soccer teams, and he will give us his overall remarks. We are truly appreciative to have the Department of Health as the main partner in this initiative, and we'll hear from the Honourable Minister of Health, Dr. Kaizer, who will tell us about government's plans in leading and directing the critical resources and supplies to the many brave men and women at the front line of this fight. We also have the Honourable Deputy Minister of Health here with us today, Dr. Joe Phaahla. We have the Deputy Minister of Sports, Arts and Culture, the Honourable Ms. Notawe Mafu. The Department of Sports, Arts and Culture is a key partner in leading the sports community on the social impact and awareness drive of this initiative. And the Minister will expand on these details later on in the programme. The Surgeon General from the Defence Force, Zola Tabula, is also joining us for the briefing today. Before we start the proceedings, just some virtual housekeeping rules to bear in mind. We will have each of our speakers giving their address, following which an opportunity will be given out for questions to be posed to our panel members. And just a reminder that this is going to be done via that dedicated WhatsApp line Q&A feature that has been communicated to the members of the media. The WhatsApp line will be enabled from the beginning of the speaker's address, and of course the members of the media can send their questions through as the proceedings go ahead. I'd like to appeal to many of you to keep your questions brief and to the point so that we can take as many questions as possible after the address. Please also include your name, your surname, your media publication, and also which member of our panel your question is directed to when submitting this particular question. A reminder as well that the members of the media are limited or are urged to limit their questions to be relevant as to what is being announced here today, and that questions that are not relevant to this briefing will be taken offline. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's kick off the program for today. I'd now like to hand over to the MultiChoice Group Chairman, Mr. Imtiaz Patel, who will welcome us all here today and observe protocol. Imtiaz?
Hello, Carol. Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to thank the Minister of Health, Mr. Kaizer, the Honourable Deputy Minister Joe Phaahla, the Honourable Deputy Minister of Sports, Arts and Culture, Ms. Mafu, and the Surgeon General from the Defence Force, Zola Tabula, for joining us today. We also thank our partners, the Chairman of Orlando Pirates, Dr. Irvin Khoza, and the Chairman of Kaizer Chiefs, Mr. Kaizer Motaung. We thank the members of the media for being part of this very important announcement. The MultiChoice Group is fully behind the extension of the lockdown measures announced by the President in his address last week, having already announced our 80 million rand support for local production companies and freelancers in our value chain, which was made by our Group CEO, Calvo Mawela. Under the able and inspiring leadership of Dr. Kaizer, the Health Ministry has led from the front in the handling of this pandemic. Given the direction and guidance of the ministers, we would like to start by acknowledging our nurses and doctors, our men in blue, and our Defence Force personnel who have been on the front line, placing themselves at risk in the fight against the virus and saving lives, whilst the rest of us are required to stay at home per government's call to do so. Which brings me to why we are here today. As government embarks on accelerating the nationwide screening and testing campaign, we humbly ask our Ministers of Health to accept a contribution of 100,000 N95 masks, 350,000 surgical masks, of which 75,000 will go to the police and another 75,000 will go to the Defence Force, 100,000 gloves, 10,000 protective overalls, 10,000 wipes, and 100,000 shoe covers. We hope that you will accept this from us, two Ministers of Health. This is our small contribution for frontline workers who are the unsung heroes and heroines, the first and last line of defense in curbing the spread of the virus. We hope that through this contribution, we are letting them know that we care for them and that we support them. We salute them. We are appreciative of their efforts, and we want to ensure the best possible safety for them through this journey to fight the spread of the COVID-19 virus. Today's contribution by the partners present here is but a small one in the self-sacrificing effort by our frontline health and law enforcement workers. We would like to once again thank Dr. Kaizer and Dr. Pashla for agreeing to allow us to partner with the department in aiding those that are at the forefront. We hope that this contribution will aid our brothers and sisters risking their lives in hospitals and clinics and on the streets rolling out mass screening tests, and those that are enforcing bylaws in carrying out their biggest sacrifice yet. I would also like to thank Dr. Khoza and Mr. Motaung for their support and for partnering on us in this initiative. Their players are heroes in many of our households, and the message from these players is important for reinforcing government's overall message. Finally, to Honorable President Ramaphosa and Dr. Kaizer, and to your cabinet colleagues, we have led this war, you have led this war, through your proactive and decisive leadership. We pray and wish you good health, much strength, and our enduring support. We know that we are in good hands and that our country is in good hands. Thank you very much. Carol, I get you in Rand.
Thank you so much, Mr. Patel. That's right. Today is indeed about our health workers and our policemen, policewomen and soldiers. And hopefully this will go a long way in terms of contributing to the fight against the pandemic. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to invite the chairman of Orlando Pirates Football Club, Dr. Irvin Khoza, to address you now.
Madam Program Director, I want to start my remarks by addressing our people at home. To you, the father, mother, daughter, son, grandfather, grandmother, girl child and boy child, uncle and aunt, this virus, the coronavirus, COVID-19 as scientists call it, is real and kills. It would have been easier if we could see the virus with our naked eyes. It would have been helpful if we could smell, taste or hear when we touch it. The truth is, we cannot use any of our five senses. It is therefore important for us to pay and take our guidance from the government. Luckily for us, our government has led admirably on this issue. From day one, by the first citizen, our President, Cyril Ramaphosa. We as a nation have been privileged to have our nation's #1 doctor, our Health Minister, Dr. Kaizer, making sure on a daily basis that we have all the information we need. The Minister has literally slept in a different city, town or village, working hard in his leadership of a collaborative effort for us as a nation to stay ahead of the curve in response of this deadly virus. Thank you, Minister, for your laudable service to the nation at our moment of great need. Minister Kaizer has told us the only way we are going to win is to work together. Every single one of us has a role to play. Right now, in this difficult lockdown period, we are all playing a role. The government is leading a collaborative effort to enable the reopening of the economy under circumstances where we have early detection mechanism and appropriate responses in place of those that get infected. The important role you at home are playing by staying at home is to ensure we don't all get sick at the same time and overwhelm our already outstretched medical facilities and national health system before a plan is in place. Majority of you follow the beautiful game. You know that attacking without a proper constructed defense has disastrous consequences. By staying at home, we have taken the much-needed defensive position the nation requires at this stage of the game because we are not moving and the virus is not moving. We at Orlando Pirates understand our leadership role in our sector and the economy at large. We have achieved even more when we have worked collaboratively with the other market leader, Kaizer Chiefs. In the field of play, we are determined to beat each other at every encounter. We, however, have a history and culture of collaboration in matters of national importance. We have held a view that any matter of national importance was not none of our business. We have achieved a first in the world when our supporters started traveling together in the same trains, buses, taxis, and private vehicles, use same entrances, even sit next to each other at stadiums, before peacefully returning home to our loved ones. This, our supporters do besides the results and the sadness of those that lost, like we, the Buccaneers, lost our last encounter. We recognize that the nationwide Orlando Pirates and Kaizer Chiefs supporters live in the same township and suburbs and villages, even the same homes. Our supporters live, work, and socialize together. It is the wisdom of this recognition that has strengthened our hands into collaborations in matters of national importance. Our sector minister and the department has rendered support and strengthened our efforts always, Department of Sport. Thank you, Department, for your invaluable support and your attendance today. Collaborations help amplify efforts. The efforts of Orlando Pirates and Kaizer Chiefs have significantly been enhanced by our partner MultiChoice, a true corporate citizen that understands that its needs are not at odds with those of the nation. Chairman Imtiaz Patel, I want to thank you. There's a gentleman leading your team that without noise gets things done. He deserves special mention, MultiChoice CEO, Mr. Khoza. Ladies and gentlemen, in this moment of urgent need and extreme anxiety in our nation, the collaborative effort of MultiChoice, Orlando Pirates, and Kaizer Chiefs have identified frontline staff. These are the men and women that have the generous job, risking their lives as they interact with the nation delivering critical services. Men and women of the medical profession, doctors, nurses, laboratory personnel, scientists, researchers, and health workers, and other frontline services, the police, the defense force, face the same risk as those in the medical facilities under circumstances that are mobile, fluid, and potentially more dangerous. Not only do they risk their lives saving the nation, they return to their families who are, as a result, are also endangered. We identify this group of workers as the most endangered and deserving immediate support. Constant testing and protective clothing is invaluable for this group of workers, the men and women in the front line. Over and above the protective clothing donated today, the MultiChoice Orlando Pirates and Kaizer Chiefs partnership will use these channels and resources to amplify the government messaging that is important for the nation going forward. Our collective reach is unrivaled in our country. Right now, the message is stay at home. Whilst we are at home, it is particularly important that communities allow screening and testing to go ahead as the government has asked. Screening and testing are helping us to identify and arrest this deadly virus. I know social distancing is difficult. It defies everything we have been taught as a way of life. It requires us not to get too close and not to touch. Please observe the social distance recommended. Please wash your hands and disinfect surfaces that are shared. And please remember, prevention is better than cure. I thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Khoza, for showing us how with solidarity and leadership we can overcome this difficult period. The next speaker, ladies and gentlemen, is the chairman of Kaizer Chiefs Football Club, Mr. Kaizer. Down.
Thank you so much to the program director. In the interest of time, I would like to associate myself with the protocols that have been observed by my colleagues before me. On behalf of Kaizer Chiefs Football Club, we are also equally proud to be associated with this partnership and feel that as government embarks on a massive screening and testing campaign, this announcement and contribution could not come at a better time. As Mr. Patel and Dr. Khoza have already said, today is not about highlighting the size of the contribution. Today is about solidarity and sacrifice. While a lot of contributions have been made towards the fight against this pandemic, ever since the President declared a national state of disaster before escalating it to a national lockdown late last month, it will all be in vain if all South Africans did not play their part. The sacrifices by those tasked with looking after those that have been infected will not yield the desired impact if we all don't adhere to the regulations outlined by our government and stay at home. On that note, I'm pleased to announce that our players from both Kaizer Chiefs and Orlando Pirates will embark on a nationwide social media public campaign in a bid to raise awareness and encourage everyone to stay at home and observe strict guidelines of personal hygiene to minimize the risk of getting infected